Hi, it's Paul at Hostcom, and in this video we're going to take a look at handling form inputs again for Vue JavaScript application. And this is a way of handling multiple form inputs. In this case we've got 3, but you can use this same method to handle any number of standard form inputs in a Vue JavaScript application. So if you've got kind of 7 or 8 different inputs, you can use this method on all of them to collect the value of those inputs. And this is how we're going to do it. Here we've got what this is a gradient generator app, and it's got 2 inputs for the colors, for the hex values of the linear gradient colors, and it's got 1 input for the name or the title of the swatch that we generate using this app. So we're going to look at these 3 inputs, and all the inputs are handled in exactly the same way. They've all got the same attributes set onto them, and we just have a little snippet of code to handle that particular input. You can repeat this process. We've got three inputs here, but as I say, you can repeat this process for 6, 7, 8 or 9 or whatever other inputs, or however many inputs you are using in the application, providing the kind of standard inputs. So we'll take a look at this. First of all, the color inputs, they're identical. They're identical with the exception of we just give them different values, value 1 and value 2. And the name input is again identical. It's just got a different value of value 3. And the key to this is the value sort of attributes. And we put, first of all, we're going to put in the props method. We're just going to put in an array, in a bracket, we're going to put the name of value. We're going to give that, set that an attribute of value, and that sets up, that's what we are searching for or using when we collect these values. So we put value in square brackets in the props method of the application, and this is how we're going to use it. It's very straightforward. Each input is just given a V model, a reference, and bound to that value with the whatever number we give it, and it's repeated in all the other inputs. So we've got value 1, value 2, and in this third form we've got value 3. If you had other forms in your application, you'd typically give them value 4, value 5, value 6, etc. But in this case, we're just using 3. So this is how we're going to do it. Having set the props to value in the square brackets there, we simply give it each input a V model and a value, set that to a value 1 in this case, a reference of value 1, and bind the value to value 1. And then we repeat that for the second input, giving it a value of 2. And we repeat that again for the third input using value 3. And as I said, you can use on the other inputs, you can just increase that to value 4, value 5, value 6, and so on. And this is how we use those values in the code. Taking the color input values, we're using those in this set background color function, and it's very straightforward how we do this. We're using this $emit method, and we set this $emit using on the input, and then we set value 1 to plus this $refs, which is the reference, value.value1 .value, and that's how we collect the value of value 1. And then we repeat that underneath for value 2. Value 2 is bound to plus this $refs .value2 dot value, and that's basically it. That's all we're doing to collect these values. We can then use those values in the code using the this keyword. This particular function. We're using literals, string literals, and we've got this value 1, and we've got this dot value 2, and that gives us the two values of the linear gradient for the linear gradient. And so that's how we're using it for the color inputs. And other inputs are using exactly the same way. The name input we're using in publish swatch function, and exactly the same again. We've got this dot $emit on the input, and value 3 this time is plus this plus refs plus value 3 value. So that's binds everything. The value 3 is collecting the reference, the name of the value, which is value 3, and the value of the value, which is obviously the string that we're inputting. And we don't need to set anything. We don't need to set string or anything like that in the data. The only thing we have to set in the export default method is the properties, which is the value, and that's what we're collecting, a value of all these inputs. And that's pretty much it. That's all we have to do to collect these values. I'll put the code for this underneath. I'll put the color ones underneath, and essentially you just repeat that for any extra values that you are adding into your application, and you just increase the number to 3, 4, value 5 or value 6 or whatever, and then you can use the code throughout your application with this keyword. So that wraps it up. It's just a short look at collecting values in a straightforward, easy way without getting too much involved into sort of watch methods or anything like that. We're not watching the methods. We're just collecting and emitting the value. So thanks for watching. I'll leave the code underneath, and you can hopefully use it in your application. A nice, straightforward, easy way of collecting multiple values in your Vue JavaScript application. Thanks very much. Bye.